Okay, everyone, good day once again. Good day sa inyo, BSDC 2A. So today we're going to tackle the chapter 3 of our lesson in educational communication and technology. So now we are discussing this historical perspectives rather of educational communication. So bakit nga ba natin to inaaral? Inaaral natin ito nang sa ganun ay maintindihan ninyo kung paano nga ba kung bakit nga ba ganito na yung educational systems na meron tayo nowadays. Kasi sa EDCOM, hindi lang to about sa karunungan o kaalaman nyo gumawa ng isang PowerPoint, gumamit ng projector. Okay? May mahabang history na pinagmulan kung paano tayo nag-came up with this kind of visual and audiovisual instructions na meron tayo nowadays. So sa ating discussion ngayon, i-discuss ko sa inyo yung unang tatlong period muna kung saan nagkaroon tayo ng transition. It started in the industrialization period up to uh, the, the the World War II era, and of course, ano pa ba yung isa? Ah, during sa mga pag-usbong ng mga tinatawag nating communication theories and as well as the communication model. So tingnan natin kung ano yung naging structure ng education system back in these times at bakit nga ba sila nagkaroon nun. Okay, so let's start with the first slide. This is all about the foundational roots. And when we say foundational roots, yung pinagmulan. Okay, class. Ito yung tinatawag nating visual instructions or visual instruction back in the 1920 to 1990s. This is the period in the 20th, early 20th century. So ngayon, tingnan natin. Meron ako inihandang palaro sana if you're going to do this in face-to-face, but regardless, if in person, synchronous classes man or asynchronous, which is flexible po yung time natin, um, kinakailangan nating mag-push through simply because we have targets for this week and as well as for next week. Ayoko naman maka-apekto yun, yung delays. Kasi may ways naman, may mga paraan naman. Diba? So ito, which era do you think is this? Guess the jumble words below na may kinalaman sa ating unang i-discuss. So this is all about the Industrial Revolution. Tandaan niyo yan, Industrial Revolution. For the historical context class, during the Industrial Revolution, nagsimula ito nung nakita nila na ang mga tao noon ay pinakailangang ma-educate. Because class, during the industrial period, karamihan or ito yung mga panahon na tinuring yung tao as parang tawag dito, yung mundo natin ay na-transform sa pagkakaroon ng isang napakalaking working force na kumbaga ang tanging role ng mga tao ay magtrabaho ng magtrabaho. Okay? To operate those machineries. But ang mga tao ng mga panahon na yon, they do not or they cannot afford right education, and therefore marami sa kanila ang hindi marunong bumasa, hindi rin marunong magsulat, but they are operating machines. So paano? Paano ginagawa yun ng mga tao noon? Merely sila ay tinuturuan lamang kung paano ito gawin. So during the Industrial Revolution class, nakita nila that there is this need in for mass education. So yan. I hope you're seeing the red dot na ginagawa because in Zoom pala ay wala palang ganon, okay? Hindi ko pala makikita. Then next, dito na class nagkaroon ng tinatawag nating progressive education movement kasi nga nakita nila na yung mga tao hindi dapat lang natin ini-instructan but dapat sila ay merong karunungan na somehow maging educated sila kung ano nga ba yung kanilang ginagawa, paano bumasa, paano simply sumunod sa instruction without someone who is commanding them. So, this this specific period in time class is also a reaction against the purely verbal instruction. Yun nga, sabi ko sa inyo, ang mga tao nun ini-instructan lang. And then the way how they are getting education, yung mga taong nakapag-aaral ng panahon na yun, meron tayong tinatawag na chalk and talk system. This is wherein the teacher just discusses in front of the class. And the classes or yung kanyang mga estudyante, the students are merely listening and sitting on their chair. There is no such thing as active participation. Okay? So yun po. This reaction against the pure verbal instruction also is something that is moved by the scholars. One of the pioneers of during this period, siya po ay si John Dewey. So later on, malalaman nyo kung ano ba yung pinropose ni John Dewey. Okay? Salungat kasi siya sa pananaw na chalk and talk. Gusto niya, eto na, sabi ko na, gusto niya yung tinatawag nating learning by doing. Para sa kanya kasi hindi sapat na nakikinig lang. Students need to experience things outside of their classroom or even inside of their classroom. They need to experience things. So yun. The core assumptions for this era is when learning improves when learners encounter concrete representations of reality. Learning by doing. Yun nga po. So now, let's move forward to the next slide. Okay. So puntahan natin tong tinatawag naman natin theoretical foundations. Influence of experiential philosophy of John Dewey, yung binabanggit ko kanina, sabi niya, it's all about the experiential learning or the learning by doing. And next, we also have this uh, philosophy or the proposal of Edgar Dale, which is nabanggit na natin noon sa unang-unang lesson natin sa EDCOM. Inintroduce ko sa inyo yung tinatawag nating Edgar Dale's Cone of Experiences. So it began during 1946. Okay. Ano ba kasi yung proposal ni John Dewey na yan? Para kay John Dewey class, sabi niya dyan, give the pupil something to do, not something to learn. And the doing is of such a nature as to demand thinking. Pag daw kasi gumagawa yung isang tao, nag-act siya ng isang bagay, nagde-demand to ng critical thinking skills. At doon na mangyayari yung tinatawag nating learning. Kaya nasabi niya din that learning is a natural result of something that you do. Okay, so how it works? Simply, it's like this. I cannot see the red dot once again on how to annotate, but sige lang, push lang natin. Ayan. So it works this way. For example, this is John Dewey's learning by doing theory. And then, ganito siya nag-work. I put here the diagram. The first one is to experience the activity. And then the students, the learners, should perform it. And then after that, they need to share this, okay? Whatever their reactions are, observations, publicly or in front of the class. And then the next one is the process. It's when they analyze those experiences. Ano ba yung nakuha nila? Okay? Nakita nyo, nabanggit na yung experience, share, and then the process. And then the next one is the generalization. It is when they connect these learnings to the real world experiences and give their own examples. Next, and the last is when they apply it. Okay, apply what was learned to a similar, different situation. This is now is what we call practice. So yun po yun. Learning by doing. First, you have to do, and then you need to reflect. And then lastly is to apply it in a real life scenario. Pag na-encounter mo yung something na yun in real life, how are you going to respond? So yun daw po yung tinatawag nating learning according kay John Dewey. Dahil na-experience mo na, you can now apply it sa totoong buhay. Okay, next, puntahan naman natin yung tinatawag na yung pangalawang sumuporta doon sa claim na yon ni John Dewey. And anyway, class, John Dewey is an educator back in the industrialization period. Sinundan siya ng scholar na si Edgar Dale. So siya nga po yung nag-pioneer ng tinatawag nating Edgar Dale's Cone of Experience. He is known as the father of modern media in education. For he is the trailblazer class. Okay? When we say trailblazer, pioneer, nanguna, namuno in the works about the audiovisual instruction and educational technology. So by now, class, you should know what is educational technology and what is instructional technology. Dahil iyon naman ay na-discuss na natin. Kailangan alam niyo siyang i-distinguish. So his model shows how different types of learning, from hands-on experiences to abstract information, affect the learning instruction. Tingnan natin later. Ganito siya. Okay, this is how the Edgar deals of experiences work. Edgar Dale's cone of experiences basically functions. Okay, so number one is it is illustrated in this manner. On the top corner of that um, pyramid, we have this the reading, hearing, okay, because class, according to the studies, to his discoveries, 10% lang daw nung ating nababasa, yung ating natatandaan. 20% naman nung ating mga naririnig, yung nare-retain sa ating isipan. And that's when we learn to define the list and describe and learn to explain things. Sorry, ang likot ng pusa. Nangangalamot. Okay, and then the next one, we have this. When we view images, again class, nandito tayo sa industrialization period, the visual instructions, okay? So when we view images, watch videos, it's becoming 30% na ngayon. 30% noon ay ating natatandaan, okay? And then lahat ng yan, when we attend exhibits, watch demonstrations, etc., it's when we it's when we are able to demonstrate kung ano yung ating mga napanood and somehow ito ay ating naia-apply. So yun, ano yung pinaka mataas naman ngayon. Ito yung tayo ay kaya na nating mag-analyze ng isang bagay and eventually to create something doon sa ating mga natutunan. So I was really quite hoping, patalastas lang no. Sana nakikita niyo how am I discussing this to you. This is really a good lesson class. A very good foundation of learning. So yun, kapit lang. Okay? So number one is and then yun na nga sinasabi ko na yung pinakamataas, it's when we learn how to create something based doon sa ating mga learning. So yun yung po yung nasa baba ng tinatawag natin cone of experience according to Edgar Dale. Sa madaling sabi class, since it's a cone of experience, ayan, una dyan yung pagbasa, and of course, pag-view, and then this one is the simulation, the application mismo ng ating mga natututunan, creation eventually. Okay? Sabi sa Cone of Experiences ni Edgar Dale Class, the more yung exposure natin sa isang bagay, the more natin itong, uh, the more tayong natututo or mas natatandaan natin ang mga ito. Kaya ganun, ang hirap ilipat. Okay, so yan. According to Edgar Dale, may nakita akong isang magandang quotation that is related to this. Again, nandun pa rin tayo sa cone of experience ni Edgar Dale. Sabi dyan, it's according to Confucius, I see and I forget, I hear and I somehow remember, okay? And when I do, that's when I understand. So, ang ganda. It basically tells or sinasummarize niya kung anong gustong sabihin ng cone of experience ni Edgar Dale. 'Di ba, ang kay John Dewey class, noong kay John Dewey, sabi niya yung mga tao natututo by actually doing things. Ngayon, sinuportahan naman siya ni Edgar Dale, oo, natututo yung mga tao pag gumagawa sila, pag ginagawa nila yung isang bagay. But more on, he also gave emphasis na the more yung exposure natin sa isang bagay, mas tumatagal at mas dumadami yung ating natututunan. Cone of experience. Okay. So, key characteristics ng ah, visual instruction era pa rin, from the late or from the early 20th century, 1920s, its emphasis is on the sensory perception kasi nga visual po. So, it is an object-based instruction noon, yung pagtuturo. Museum-based and field-based teaching. Then, it is also about the visual literacy. So ngayon, ano-ano yung critical limitations nito? It's when the media is treated or were treated as mainly supplementary tools. No structured instructional design or framework yet in this class. And then, pumunta na tayo dito sa next period. This is all about the audiovisual movement. So sabi ko nga, it's now naman from 1920s to 1940s. Kung matatandaan nyo yung visual instruction class, diba? Kung kayo malilito, the visual instruction is 1920s to 1990s. Ganun po katagal yung tinatawag natin effect ng visual movement sa ating panahon. Ngayon, back in 1920s, especially during this 1940s class, inincorporatean nila ito nung audio visual movement. So bakit? If you're going to based on the design I somehow put here in the presentation, there is a background of a warship class, an aeroplane, and this highly pixelated picture is all about war. And at the background, this is the Great Return ni General Douglas MacArthur sa Pilipinas. So, tingnan natin bakit tayo napunta dito. Okay, so yan. So yun, which historical event triggered this? So guess the jumbled word below. This is all about hirap naman ilipat. Okay. Ayan. This is all about the World War II. But mainly, yun pong nag-trigger niyan is, sige, tingnan natin, bakit ko nasabi na World War II yung pinaka, dapat, kumbaga, ah, turning point. Di ko naman sinasabi na ito yung turning point, but somehow these images or this visual representation is something na kapag nakita nyo, oh, that was the period pala na na-incorporate yung tinatawag nating audiovisual instruction sa educational kinemi or in educational systems noong mga panahon na yun. It's because noong military trainings po, mainly in World War II, during World War II in their military training programs. So, hihimay-himayin pa natin kung bakit. Let's move forward to the next slide. So, yan. This is the historical trigger. It's all about unahin ko na tong World War II. Sabi ko nga, it's all about the military training. Noong World War II kasi class, kinailangan ng mga militar ng training systems na makapagpapabilis ng communication strategies nila from soldiers to soldiers. It's because paano nga ba nila daw mapaparating yung message nila doon sa isang sundalo na nasa malayong lugar. So, dyan na po nag-umpisa na ma-recognize because meron namang mga technology available noon. Dyan na po nag-umpisa gamitin yung mga radios and also the film representation whenever they are educating people. So, kailangan ng military na mag-train ng maraming sundalo ng mabilis. So, dito, naging importante yung mga tinatawag nating instructional films sa education system sa mga radyo, saka yung mga tinatawag nating audiovisual materials. Kaya naman class, ginamit nila itong technological advancement na meron sila in order for them to teach and better equip the World War II veterans. So, dito rin nagkaroon or nag-exist yung tinatawag nating standardized instructional film uh, production. Bakit? There is this tinatawag nating major shift from merely static visuals dun sa una nating period, industrialization, visual instruction. Ngayon, Synchronize nila yung tinatawag nating sound and motion. And therefore, the instructional films existed back in this period. Okay, next, let's have this conceptual development. So learning is something that is seen as a stimulus response in the, uh, this is a behaviorist influence. I put here the open and close parentheses. So take note of this because I cannot, how can I type the message here? Anyway, just take note of this. Learning as a stimulus response class. Pag sinabi nating learning as a response, it came from the early conceptions of tinatawag nating conditioning. Ano ba yung conditioning na yun? It is a response, it is when the response becomes more frequent or more predictable given in an environment when there is something na nire-reinforce natin. Sa madaling sabi, paano ko ba siya i-define yung easy term? For example, it's a reward system. Learning as seen as a stimulus response. Gusto mo turuan ang iyong, halimbawa ako, kindergarten teacher ako. Gusto kong turuan yung mga bata na palaging magsulat. Okay? So I must influence their behavior. Dapat ituturo ko, i-instructan ko sila, okay, sulat ka. Kapag nasulat mo to, magkakaroon ka na star sa kamay. Okay, di ba yung mga bata nun maraming star sa baraso. So, kapag madaming star, ibig sabihin, very good pala sila. Ibig sabihin, marami silang nasulat. So, natitrigger yung utak nila yung behavior ng mga bata na, kapag marami akong nasulat, better pala ako because I have these stars. So, yun. Natututo na po sila. So, learning is a stimulus response by influencing the learner's behavior. Okay? So, yun. Now, puntahan natin. Dito rin sa panahon na to, back in 1920s to 1940s, specifically, na-institutionalize yung tinatawag nating Association for Educational Communications and Technology. The AECT nating tinatawag sa EDCOM. But before that, nauna pong makreate yung tinatawag nating Department of Visual Instructions. Sabi dyan, precursor to nung AECT. Tingnan natin. 'Di ba yung IECT ay palagi nating nababanggit sa EDCOM. So dapat alam nyo na because the very first definition of educational communication ay sila yung ginamit nating references or reference noong very definition na alam natin. So tingnan natin sa next slides pa. Okay, so the Association for Educational Communications and Technology ay na-establish noong 1923. So it acts, ano ba to? Ano bang ginagawa nito kasi? Bakit po ba yan ma'am nag-exist at saan po ba yan natatagpuan? Okay, so it acts as a focal point for educators class, instructional designers, yes, educators and instructional designers, and even the business leaders, offering research, tools, and networking opportunities to improve the learning outcome. So mainly kasi kalipunan siya, samahan siya ng mga educators na and even business leaders on how we can improve the learning outcomes ng ating mga, of course, learners. Okay, so yan, it's a leading worldwide professional organization that is committed to enhancing instructions. Yun ang kanyang very purpose, to enhance the instruction or teaching and learning by the systematic study and the use of instructional technology. Ini-incorporate po natin yung availability of these technologies to make the education systems better. So they are the nangangasiwa for that. Okay? So, dito class, baka lang tayo ay malito. But this one is an emphasis also that I would like you to know. 'Di ba? Dito sa period na to, sinabi natin na yung mga tao para matuto, yung mga learners para matuto, gumagamit sila ng mga instructional films. They also use the radios to instruct people. So ngayon, diyan po lilitaw yung tinatawag natin isang revolutionary scholar pa rin na tinatawag natin na nagngangalang si Marshall McLuhan. So para sa kanya, parang may na-skip tayong slide. Let me check it. Naku, hindi pala mababalik dito. Wait lang. Sabi ko na may na-skip tayong slide. Okay. Ito yung na-skip nating slide class. So, hindi na nga ako mag-annotate na ayaw lang niya mapindot kapag may tinuturo ako eh. Tinuturo ko nung parang red dot something na yon. So class, anong naging effect ng era na to sa kaisipan ng mga tao? We have this, the intellectual framing. It is when the media began to be studied for instructional effectiveness. Hindi lang merely about for entertainment or for novelty. So ngayon class, ano yung naging limitations? Of course, may limitations yan. Tingnan natin. The focus remained on the medium rather than the communication process. So anong kahulugan nito? Gusto ko lang sabihin na yung very reason why I put it here, this this message, nasa pangalawang bullet po, the medium is the message. So, sinasabi kasi diyan na imbes na malaman or mas nakita natin yung kahulugan ng isang mensahe, mas nakikita natin yung halaga ng isang message kapag daw depending doon sa medium na ginamit para siya ay mai-communicate sa tao. So, nakita nila na nagwi-weak na maaring mapahina nito pala therefore yung isang magandang mensahe kung hindi siya naiparating sa pamamagitan ng isang magandang media or type of media noong mga panahon na yun. So, tingnan natin. Focus tayo dito sa kay Marshall McLuhan's The Medium is the Message. Sino ba si? Okay. So medium is the message. Ano po yung kahulugan nito, ma'am? So this explains that that the technology or channel used to send a message changes the human behavior and society more than the content of the message itself. So yun yung sinasabi ko kanina. Instead of tingnan natin yung kahulugan ng salita, para bang ang nagsasabi kung gaano kahalaga ang isang mensahe ay kung saang type of technology or media mo siya na ipadala. Then ngayon, the audiovisual movement in the mid-20th century, dahil nga sabi nga natin, it's in the 1940s to 1950s something class, okay, 1920s, 1940s to 1950s something, the mid of this 20th century, primarily stresses the obsession of using projectors, slide tapes, and early televisions. So the focus was using the technology, again, paggamit ng technology, rather than the importance of the communication process itself. So tingnan natin, rather than the importance of communication process itself, dapat talaga may annotation. Ayun. So yan. Bakit ma'am? Class, kaya nga natin inaaral kapag kayo ay tinanong ko, oh, bakit ba natin inaaral ang mga communication models and theories na ito? Alam niyo kapag hindi communications major, titingnan lang 'to as something na, "Oh, ano, bakit ko ba inaaral 'yan?" Sasabihin gano'n sa'tin na major. At magagalit ako sa inyo kapag sinabi niyo na, ang simpleng sagot niyo lang ay, "Dahil po communications major kami." So what kung communications major ka? Anong meron, 'di ba? Dapat alam mo kung bakit mahalaga na inaaral natin ang communication models and theories bilang communication students. So later on, ipaliliwanag ko din kung bakit nga ba. Kasi matatakil naman natin. Okay. So ito po yung great influencer ng mga anong panahon po na yan. Sa kanya nagmula yung tinatawag nating the medium is the message. Si Marshall McLuhan. Mahalagang tandaan na si Marshall McLuhan class is the father of the media studies. So, siya rin in the term as the prophet of information age. Kailan niya information age na yan? That is nowadays. 'Di ba? Napaka-advanced ng isip or pag-iisip ni McLuhan noong panahon niya, noong peak of his age, simply because he predicted kung paano tayo maiimpluwensyahan ng teknolohiya sa future. Okay? Nakita niya na ang mga tao class ng panahon na yun, nakita niya because of the patterns and trends. Kinlim ni McLuhan na someday these technologies will be highly incorporated on the way how the people will live their lives and will also contribute greatly on how they are taking or continuously revolutionizing their education systems. So lahat yan, nakita po ni Marshall McLuhan. So ngayon, dinidescribe niya ngayon the impact, the possible impact of digital technology. So, ngayon yung mga discoveries niya class, ito ay yung kanyang mga ideas rather, nakita ito as something na uh, okay, his ideas ay nakita as probes rather than fixed theories. Pag sinabi natin kasing theories, nabanggit ko na to sa inyo noon, it explains the hows and whys things are happening. Ipinaliliwanag niya, ito ay parang isang gabay. Ngayon, pag sinabi naman natin probe class, it is something, okay, na nagagamit natin to gather information. So ngayon yung mga ideas na to ni Marshall McLuhan, kapag naaral niyo siya sa Cold Theory, highly applicable ah, yung kanyang pinopropose na COM model. It's because ginagamit siya as tool para tayo ay makagather ng insights, halimbawa ano ang mga right intervention style na kinakailangan ng isang community in order for me to communicate my message using digital technology ha, basta yung lahat ng ginagamitan ng technologies, yun ay more on nagagamit natin as background po yung kay Marshall McLuhan's na mga um, ideas and claims. So there will be reporting, ma-share ko lang in this lesson. So yung mga reporters, I hope magbigay kayo ng empathy regarding this claim and his ideas. Okay? So let's move forward pa rin. Marami pa tayong dapat i-discover about kay Marshall McLuhan. So the movements transition from the print-dominated, 'di ba? Kasi nga visual, nakaprint lang, nakikita, which is linear, to visual culture, to auditory visual culture centered on the electronic media. Ano-ano yung mga electronic media na yan? Yun po yung radio, film, and then television. So it occurred during 1920s and 1940s. So McLuhan's analysis, McLuhan saw that this transition from the electronic age as something, the electronic age which is described as instantaneous, mabilis, holistic, acoustic, and then oral, to the Gutenberg's era, which is a fragmented, logical, and visual. Saan ba yung Gutenberg's era na yan? That could be from, that could be, according to him, ay something na mai-experience pa in the latter part of their time. So, hindi na niya naabutan, hindi niya na nakita ngayon na nagkatotoo nga talaga yan. Madami na tayo ay nasa fragmented reality na. Mga something na ganun. If we will go beyond the education system lang ha, beyond beyond the education systems, and of course, the way how our digital world is functioning. So, yun. Tama si McLuhan. So we maintain that the AV, the audiovisual movement's promotion of electronic media brought about a new global village by reestablishing kung ano yung global village na yan, that is for you to give emphasis with, okay? By reestablishing the sensory balance and bridging people back to a more collective, tribal, and oral consciousness. So let's move forward. Yun. So, tapos na natin. That is from the McLuhan's, right? Sige, explain. I'm gonna explain the last part of the, ano, that's very important to this one. Sige, ako na ang mag-explain for this. Sige. I will explain this one, but medyo mahirap kasi siyang maintindihan if we will just merely read it. Okay, so let this be taken in this manner. For example, class, sa summary na lang kung ano ba yung gustong i-claim ni Marshall McLuhan apart from his predictions class. Sabi niya, 'di ba si McLuhan class ay isang thinker. Okay? Napakalalim ng perspective niya because sabi niya the medium is the message. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang content yung mahalaga, hindi, ibig sabihin, hindi lang content ang mahalaga, kundi yung platform daw mismo. So, dahil nga doon, parang kung mas maganda yung platform mo, edi mas maganda pala yung mensahe mo, parang ganun ba? So, hindi lang din doon, beyond pa ron yung gusto niyang ma-communicate sa atin. For example, class, uh, again ha, the medium is the message. For example, you have the books, and then you have YouTube videos, and then you have this discussion na ginagawa natin asynchronous. And also we have the face-to-face um, discussion. Saan ka ba mas natututo? Okay? Kapag ba si teacher nakikita mong nagdi-discuss in person, 'di ba? Iba yung pagkatuto mo roon, hindi ba? So, yun. Naririnig ko yatang sumasagot yung estudyante na yes. Okay? Tapos iba rin naman yung pagkatuto natin kapag tayo ay nakikinig lamang, just like this way. 'Di ba? At iba rin yung pagkatuto mo kapag binabasa mo po yung isang mensahe from a book. So that's the analogy. That's the all in all summary of what he is trying to say with us. Na the medium is the message. Okay? So, ano sinasabi doon? Yung technology mismo daw ang nag-i-influence, okay, during this time, yung technology daw mismo ang nag-i-influence doon sa thinking patterns, again class, na meron ang mga tao. So, kasi, halimbawa, kapag nakikita nyo yung mga video on TikToks, on Facebook, sa aminin natin at sa hindi class, surface level lang po yung mga karunungan o kaalamang mapipick up natin doon. So, yeah, I was really hoping that we discuss this lesson in face-to-face because this lesson is a foundational lesson of EdCom class. Okay? So, yun. Surface level lang po kapag TikTok. Pero kapag talagang ikaw ay someone who is curious, you are going to read what you're going to search for what you have read, or you're going to find a book na talagang magpapalalim ng perspectives mo, di ba? So, yun po yung differences. Nung medium is the message. So, yun po. Now, makaka-move forward na tayo because nabigyang emphasis ko na, I think. This is the last, what do you call this? The last part of this discussion that we will have. It's all about the communication theory. Dito na po ngayon, communication theory influence. It's back in the 1950s to 1960s. Again, huwag kayong malilito, 1920s to 1990s, visual instructions. Ngayon, in-incorporatean ng mga scholars na di-discover nyo later. Kung ano nga ba yung nagiging purpose ng com theory sa pagkatuto ng mga learners. Okay, let's move the slide forward. Now, you have to guess. Sino kaya tong mga to? 'Di ba? They are the proponent of the mother of all the communication models, which is the Shannon and Weaver communication model. This is, they are Cloud and Shannon Weaver. So what about him daw? Medyo gwapo to. Siya po tignan niyo yung kanyang representation of his model of communication. Siya po si Wilbur Schramm. So now class, in this era, the communication theory influence in the education or the educational communication, this is when the sudden paradigm shifted. There is this what we call paradigm shift. Ano ba yung paradigm? Labi natin, the kind of approach nag-iba. So education is ni-reconceptualize nila as communication system. Nakita ngayon ng mga educators nun na, we are educating people not just to make them see visual and not just to make them hear audiovisual. So, ito pala daw ay isa ding communication system na okay, na merong nakikinig, merong mensahero ng message at doon sa pagitan nila nangyayari yung tinatawag nating communication loop. Merong feedback at meron ding mga barriers na nakakaapekto sa pagkatuto ng bawat isa. Okay? So yun po. Dito, class, mas naging technical yung pagtingin sa education system. So, sina Cloud, Shannon, and Warren Weaver, inintroduce nila yung tinatawag nating sender, and then message, channel, and then receiver. But later pa siya, na nasabi ko lang. So, the emphasis shifted from a top-down. Nung una, tinitingnan lang yun, may teacher na nagdi-discuss, makikinig lang si student, bogs, tapos. May papakita lang na visuals, nakita ko, naintindihan, bogs, tapos. Okay? So the emphasis is shifted from top-down, one-way transfer of knowledge to a dynamic. Sabihin, it's much more transformative, dialogic. There is an exchange now, and multi-directional exchange of information. Diba? There is an exchange, hindi lang basta exchange but multi-directional. Meaning and cultural values when education is rethought as a communication system. So according to this viewpoint, from the 1950s to 1960s, once again, learning environments in schools are the social arenas or in the digital age, network hubs. Network hubs where students create information rather than just receive it. So yun, tingnan natin ha. Si Ma'am Jamie, for example, this lesson is, according to our syllabus, should be reported lang by the students. Lahat po ng 6 na topics na to, dapat ang ine-expect ay estudyante ang magdi-discover na ire-report ito. Okay, but I decided to discuss them all during this week para mabigyan kayo ng insights on how it shifted. Para kung ano man ang ilalagay ninyo sa reporting, it is much more structured. Okay? At sa reporting nyo, kayo ang magbibigay ng emphasis. Kung ano yung sa palagay nyo ay kinakailangan pa nating matutunan sa kulang pa sa discussion na aking naibigay. So, yun nga, according to this viewpoint, social arena ang mga schools. Pero sa digital age na meron tayo, tinatawag itong mga network hubs na kung saan kayo ay may kakayanan or able na gumawa ng mga information, dumiskubre, magpaliwanag ng mga informasyon rather than merely receiving it from me or from us, your instructors. Okay? Is that okay? Okay. Now, these are the foundational models. Let's begin from the Cloud Shannon and Warren Beaver's model of communication. So, sasabihin ko sa inyo, once again lang, baka may mga magsusulat, may mga estudyante pang hindi tama ang pananaw na ang Shannon and Weaver communication model ay merong tinatawag nating feedback loop dito sa pagganito. Hindi po. Because Shannon and Weaver model of communication class is a linear model of communication. Meaning, ipinakikita lamang nito how the message is established from the sender and how it is received by the receiver or destination of the message. And how this important aspect of this is the introduction of noise class na naka-apekto raw kung paano marireceive yung isang message. So, kasi it's a mathematical model. Engineer po at mathematician, sina Cloud Shannon and then Warren Weaver. So, pinakita nila how do the telephones and radios transmit the information. Okay? So yun, napakita nila yung emphasis na sa isang communication process, meron of course na sender. May message kang pinadadala, saang channel niya to pinadadala, paano ito naapektuhan ng noise, at paano to ah, ma-receive nung receiver. So it's a sender, message, channel, receiver model. Okay? Ano pa ba yung binigyan nila ng emphasis class? Pinakita nila yung proseso ng encoding kasi dito hindi lang nasama pero 'di ba meron din tayong tinatawag ditong encoding of the message, when you transmit it dito, diyan nangyayari yung encoding, dito naman yung nangyayari yung decoding of the message. So yun po. Yun, kalimutan ko lang but yun nabanggit na natin. So, if i-apply natin siya sa real life example and in the educational system, teacher is the sender of the message, lesson is the message, classroom, yung face-to-face man, and this one, Zoom, is the channel on how those messages are being transferred to the learners na siya namang receiver. Kung ano man yung mga noises na nakikita or naririnig ninyo sa paligid, those are the distractions. Okay? Bad yung internet, stresses in the environment, lahat yan. Ang nagsisilbing noise or barriers sa effective communication or learning approach na meron tayo. Hmm. Okay, communication studies was transformed by Shannon and Weaver from the intuitive, artistic, or psychological field to a much more rigorous, technical, and measurable discipline. Mas nakikita na natin how it works. That's why it's very important that we know about communication models, from linears to interactive to transactional models. Okay? It gave us the groundwork for the digital communications by teaching us how to characterize information in quantifiable bits, minimize distortion, and optimize channel capacity. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, tingnan mo, quantifiable bits is because it's a mathematical model. Later on, yung mga scholars like Wilbur Schramm, Laswell, Harold Laswell, yung mga yan, sila talaga yung mga, tawag dito, this, may mga parang ano na sa linguistics, may mga background na sa ganun. Paano nila magagamit yung model ni na Shannon and Weaver in communication process talaga mismo in in the fields of communications talaga, okay? I mean, in written man or verbal, ganyan. Sina Cloud and Shannon, sabi ko nga, paano nila ginamit in telephone, ganyan? Oo, para pala mas ma-receive ni B1 na nasa telephone 1 or nasa PC 1 yung message, PC 2 yung message, kinakailangan si B1 o si, oo, tama, si B1 na nagpapadala ng message ay may malinaw na signal, may stable na, o yun, may mas mataas na signal para ngayon mapadala ko sa kanya ng maayos yung mensahe. So ngayon, dahil nalalaman nila na ganun ito nangyayari, edi nai-improve yung isang bagay. So this model class, it captured something that we cannot see. Alam mo na pag nag-uusap tayo, may nangyari, nag-feedback ka sa akin, pero back in those days, hindi nila kayang explain what is happening around them. So ngayon, mas alam na nating explain because of these foundational models. Now, puntahan pa natin ito, si Wilbur Schramm naman. Ano po yung kanyang model? It's the field of experience and feedback. Ipinakita ni Wilbur Schramm naman ngayon, ipinakita naman ni Wilbur Schramm ngayon yung ah, na ang communication class ay hindi lang one-way process or one-way communication. Kinakailangan ito ay merong feedback at shared field of experiences. For example, in this one, it works in this manner. There is an encoder of the message. Encoder, the message, decoder, he interprets the message, then i-decode, i-encode niya, ipadadala niya ito in a form of feedback. This one is a feedback. That's why it's a loop. Interactive model na to klase. Interactive model. Okay? Message, the-feedback na. I-decode ngayon nito. I-decode, i-interpret na naman, i-encode niya. And then, Ayan, field of experience and then feedback. The communication loop continuously happen. Ang communication daw ay hindi one-way lamang na proseso. Kita ron ha, ito daw ay isang two-way process din of exchange of thoughts and ideas and to have this field of, came up with the mas malawak na field of experiences. Okay? So one love, sinama ko lang yung picture niya nung may edad na siya because nung nag-aaral ako, palaging nakikita ako ay mga picture niya nung may edad. So yung pala yung picture niya nung bata pa. Okay, so yan. One of the foundation of educational communication, EDCOM, is Wilbur Schramm's 1954 model, which defines communication as an interactive, again, that's an interactive model, two-way process as opposed to the linear one, proposed, which was proposed by Shannon and Weaver. Okay? So it emphasizes that only when the sender and the recipient have the similar field of experience, culture, values, and knowledge, and use feedback to guarantee that the intended message is understood, thus effective communication takes place. 'Di ba? Ano yung mahalagang emphasis? Kapag daw si sender at si message ay merong somehow similarities of points, mas nai-improve nito kung paano naiintindihan yung message. Sa madaling sabi class, for example, kahit pagano kahusay yung professor mo na mag-explain ng isang bagay, kung talagang ikaw mismo ay totally walang background doon, mahihirapan ka pa rin na intindihin yung bagay na yon. Tama ba mali? So yun, but the more na yung instructor ay nagtuturo, sabi ko nga, dahil natututo ka, nagkakaroon ka ng background, mas dumadali mong maintindihan yung mga bagay-bagay. Because nagkakaroon na kayo ng similarity. Okay? You adapt somehow the way he or she teaches. So, intellectual contribution, nasabi na natin kanina, dito nagkaroon ng emphasis ng encoding and decoding. Sa model po yun ni na Shannon and Weaver. Nagkaroon din ng recognition of noise and barriers. Model pa rin ni Shannon and Weaver. The importance of feedback loop and shared meaning as a goal of instruction. Dito po yung emphasis sa model naman ni Wilbur Schramm or Wilbur Schramm. Okay. Impact on education, therefore, teachers now viewed as communicators, not just content transmitters, because really, we teachers are communicators. We do not just tell you or read you the content of this message. 'Di ba? Sa aminin natin, mas okay kapag si teacher kayang magkwento, hindi lang basa ng basa. At wag din naman too much kwento. Okay? You know what it means. So there is now an emphasis regarding the essentiality of interaction and engagement. Tinitingnan kayo, kaya rin ang mga teachers nyo mas interactive na ang classroom na meron. It's because the kind of approach and education na meron tayo ngayon, ganun na yung tingin sa learners. Dapat kayo ay actively nagpa-participate. And actually, hindi lang nagpa-participate eh. You experience things outside of the four corners of the classroom. Kaya ang OJTs ngayon, lumalabas. May mga activities kayo, lumalabas din kayo. Yun po yun. This is seen in the 21st century. Tayo ay nasa 21st century na. Huwag kayong malilito because if I would tell you, okay, if I would tell you, ganito pala siya, pwede palang magsulat. And this happens because baka lang may mga hindi nga makakapagsulat. Annotator. Okay, sige. So yeah, it happens this way. For example, we're in the uh, 1900s class. Yan, 1900s. So, nasabi natin kanina na ito yung 20th century class, 'di ba? It works in this manner. 1900, there is always plus 1 para masabi mo na ito yung 20th uh, century. Okay? 20th century. Ngayon, tayo ay nasa 21st century na. Dadagdagan mo ngayon yan, lahat ng isinilang from 2000s, year 2000s, plus 1. Dito po nangyayari ngayon yung tinatawag naman nating 21st century. So, nasa 26 na tayo. 75 years from now, tayo ay nasa 22nd, tayo ay nasa 22nd century na ng ah, mundo. Okay? So, yun po. Let me just have this screenshot before I move forward to the next slide for my, once again, what do you call this? Accomplishment report class. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so yan. Guess me. Going to erase the writings. Paano siya ma-erase now? Hindi ko alam mag-erase. Draw. Ito. Okay. So, yan. Kung tayo face-to-face, I will allow you to guess this. But this time, wala na pong clue. Guess me, no clue. We have here the eyes. We have here an alligator and a crocodile. And when you have eyes, ano bang nangyayari? So this one means see you later, alligator. Parang see you later, alligator. Okay, so yun po yun. And then see you on our next meeting. This lesson is to be continued. Goodbye and thank you, class. I hope you learned something. Hindi ako mag-upload ng PowerPoint. You need to study this video. Thank you.